From the early 80s to the early 90s, Motley Crue defined the hard rock and glam metal that burst forth from the Los Angeles club scene. A little dark and definitely crazy, Motley Crue changed the game. Here are the true stories behind some of Motley Crue's most popular songs. Upon first glance at the title or one listen to Kickstart My Heart, one would assume that this hard-charging hit off Motley Crue's 1989 blockbuster Dr. Feelgood album is a song about the transformative properties of love. But this is a Motley Crue song, and those guys don't pour their hearts out about romance all that often. They prefer instead to make songs about booze, drugs, parties, and girls, girls, girls. Kickstart My Heart is actually a literally titled account of bassist and songwriter Nikki Sixx's brush with death. According to Ultimate Classic Rock, on December 23, 1987, Styx partied with Steven Adler and Slash from Guns N' Roses and Robin Crosby of Rat, and gave himself one syringe full too many of his party drug of choice, heroin. He turned blue, received mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, and was eventually brought back from the dead by paramedics. They gave him a shot of adrenaline that quite literally kick-started his heart.
Thank God, even though I don't think it was God, it was a paramedic, for the adrenaline shots into my chest.
An album title ultimately stems from where the artist was, mentally, musically, or geographically, at the time they created those songs. Motley Crue titled its 1987 album Girls, 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 which Rolling Stone accurately called a paean to excess, because those words and the dancer-chasing events described in its title track accurately describe the band's existence at the moment. Nikki Sixx told Rolling Stone, "We were riding motorcycles and hanging out in strip clubs. We were off the road. We were young guys having fun, man." To that end, Sixx gives shout-outs to 7 real-life strip clubs from around the U.S. and Girls, Girls, Girls. He told Entertainment Weekly, "I've been to a strip club in every country in the world when we were younger, and that song is always played in every strip club around the world."
It's a classic. I mean, we got inducted in the Stripper Hall of Fame because of that song.
In the early 1980s, soap operas, and ABC's General Hospital in particular, experienced a massive spike in popularity. The show's musically inclined star Rick Springfield parlayed his exposure to become one of the early 80s biggest pop rockers, while co-star Jack Wagner also reached #1 with his soft rock standard All I Need. Why all this soap talk in a Motley Crue video? Because Nikki Sixx called out Wagner by using the title's Wagner one and only hit in his song You're All I Need. The track off 1987's Girls, Girls, Girls is a song about a jealous guy straight up murdering his lover. Yikes. In his memoir, The Heroin Diaries, Styx revealed that he wrote the song when he was certain that his girlfriend at the time was cheating on him with Wagner. Styx told Rolling Stone, "Word got back to me that she was seeing some other guy. The premise of the song was based on killing your girlfriend, and I took the cassette over to her apartment and I didn't say anything. I just played it for her, and she started crying, and I walked out the door." Motley Crue reached its commercial peak in 1989 with the release of Dr. Feelgood. Its best-selling album by far, the Recording Industry Association of America certified it 6 times platinum. It also generated the band's first of 2 top 10 singles, a song called Dr. Feelgood. It's not the usual top 40 radio fare, considering it's about dope pushers. While Nikki Sixx struggled with drugs, particularly heroin, for so long and so severely that he published a memoir called The Heroin Diaries, Dr. Feelgood didn't start with lyrics, but with an unforgettable riff generated by Motley Crue guitarist Mick Mars. Sixx told Entertainment Weekly that after he heard it just a few times, the chorus's lyrics popped into his head. He said, "I went, he's the one that called Dr. Feelgood, he's the one that makes it feel all right. I have no idea why, it all just rolled together."
So it wasn't for the way Mick played guitar, it would just be a ratty punk rock song.
As Sixx fleshed out the song, he dug a little deeper. He told Rolling Stone, "It's a story of things I've seen running up the street, things the guys have experienced on the street, some made-up characters and some that are actually real." Sixx added that the song was inspired by drug dealers, and not just one because, in his words, a good addict always has more than one dealer. Songs about strippers and domestic homicides notwithstanding, Motley Crue did have a sensitive, romantic side, which they showed off very, very rarely. But as most every other hair metal band fell prey to a soaring power ballad, like Skid Row's I Remember You and Warren's Heaven, Motley Crue came down on the side of love with its gooey 1989 prom song, Without You. Nikki Sixx wrote the song, but he didn't write it about himself. He came up with it when he was an outside observer of the then sweet and lovely relationship between bandmate Tommy Lee and his girlfriend Heather Locklear, star of Melrose Place, and the only woman in LA with hair as big as Lee's. Sixx told Rolling Stone, "That was a very simple idea for a song, which I had written a lyric about Heather Locklear and Tommy. They were coming over to my place at the time, and I thought to myself one day, without you, coming from Tommy's perspective, life would not be the same. It's a mini-genre of 70s and 80s classic rock into itself. Bittersweet songs about how hard it is to be a band touring the world and playing packed stadiums and arenas each night while also missing the comforts and people back home. There's Bob Seger's Turn the Page, Journey's Faithfully, and the hardest rocking one of all, Motley Crue's Home Sweet Home. The band thought the song was so nice they released it twice. Once for the 1985 album Theater of Pain, and then a remixed version 6 years later called Home Sweet Home 91. It was a much bigger hit the second time around, hitting number 37 on the pop chart then compared to number 89 originally. On the concert DVD, Motley Crue The End, live in Los Angeles, Nikki Sixx said he wrote the song as a reaction to being gone so long during the Shout at the Devil tour. He explained, "It was our first time. A tour bus picked us up at our little tiny apartment and we took off to play some shows, and 18 months later we got dropped back in our little apartments."
That song really was, for us, was our dream on, or our stairway to heaven.
While Vince Neil, Sixx, and their respective partners were leaving the LA club The Rainbow one night, Sixx saw a biker hassling and propositioning some young women. He wrote in The Dirt, "The bikers had declared war on the rockers back then. We asked him to stop. He glared at us and told us to f*** off." That's when Sixx stopped being polite. He took off the chain he was wearing like a belt and, quote, started swinging it in the air trying to crack skulls. In the resulting brawl, a biker bit Sixx's hand through to the bone, prompting the musician to beat the man in the face with his chain. And then, just like that, the fight was over when the biker produced a gun and said, "You're under arrest, mother." A latecomer to the brawl, this man was one of two undercover cops, who Sixx says hit him in the face with their nightsticks, giving him a black eye and a broken cheekbone before loading him into a police car. After making bail, he walked home, met the band, and played a show that night. Later that night, Sixx says he pulled out a lined yellow notepad and vented, writing a draft of what would become the second verse of Shout at the Devil's album cut, "Knock 'em Dead, Kid." Motley Crue is almost as well known for its members' abilities to romance beautiful women as it is for their songs about romancing beautiful women. Tommy Lee married actress Heather Locklear in 1986 and Baywatch star Pamela Anderson in 1995. Nikki Sixx was at one time hitched to Playboy playmate Brandy Brandt, as well as another Baywatch star, Donna D'Errico. It doesn't seem that any of those relationships ended with the woman leaving a Motley Crue guy for another woman, but that's what Same Old Situation is about. Without naming any specific personal instances, Vince Neil told Rolling Stone, "That's about chicks leaving you for chicks. It happens. It definitely happens." Sixx added that Elektra Records executives really loved the song on their first listen, deeming it perfect for a single. He vowed to keep secret that the song was actually about same-sex relationships, which wouldn't have gone over well with mainstream radio in 1989. Only the members of a band like Motley Crue could be brazen, arrogant, and unapologetic enough to make a concept album about themselves. After the band's absolutely shocking group memoir, The Dirt, Confessions of the World's Most Notorious Rock Band, became a bestseller upon its release in 2001, and subsequently an iconic rock biography, the Crue were feeling more than a little nostalgic. They got back together to record their first new album with the original lineup in more than a decade, Saints of Los Angeles, which hit stores in 2008.
When you listen to the album, it's almost like watching a movie, to me.
While so many Motley Crue songs are based on things that actually happened to Nikki Sixx and his hedonistic bandmates, Saints of Los Angeles is a concept record that Sixx told reporters was loosely based on The Dirt. That means this is a Motley Crue album about, well, Motley Crue.
Pretty much the story of our life is that album.
The title track is specifically about the band's early taste of success. Guitarist Mick Mars told Ultimate Guitar, "Saints of Los Angeles is about us signing our record deal with Elektra." Motley Crue's hit 1990 single Don't Go Away Mad, Just Go Away demonstrates some rare cheeky humor from the band. The lyrics to the Nikki Sixx-Mick Mars collaboration also wryly reference another Motley Crue song, the 1983 Shout at the Devil track, Too Young to Fall in Love. It's about ending a relationship on ideal terms, with a couple choosing not to fight but to remember the good times and to part amicably. Or, just go away instead of going away mad. Sixx didn't base it on the end of an actual relationship from his own life, but rather was inspired to write the song when he heard somebody else, a fictional character, use the phrase. He told Rolling Stone, "I saw that line in a movie somewhere." What movie? Well, he can't remember where the phrase originated, but he did see the potential. He added, "I thought, great idea for a song, a little tongue-in-cheek, a little sarcasm there." Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more grunge videos about your favorite stuff are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.